Hello, my name is Terry Olszewski, Superintendent of the Garfield Heights City Schools, and welcome to another edition of Open Line on Air. Today's edition is somewhat different than those of the past because we have three guests here today. It is a very important program discussing a major change that is taking place within our schools for the next school year, the K-5 transition. This transition will essentially transform William Foster, Elmwood, and Maple Leaf into elementary schools serving grades kindergarten through 5. Overall, this transition will be a great thing for our elementary students. And with me today as guests are the three individuals who will help lead the effort for the Garfield Heights City Schools, the principals of each of these buildings. Welcome. Today we have here Mrs. Powers from William Foster, Mrs. Jody Saxton from Maple Leaf, and Mrs. Gwen Abraham from Elmwood Elementary School. So let's begin by asking you, Mrs. Powers, to explain the very basics for this transition. What is the full scope of the K-5 transition? And in other words, what's exactly taking place?
The K-5 transition is a process in which Elmwood Elementary School, Maple Leaf Intermediate School, and William Foster Elementary School will begin servicing students kindergarten through 5th grade, starting in the fall of 2013-2014 school year. We will provide all-day kindergarten, and by providing all-day kindergarten, we'll more than double the instructional time for our kindergarten students. For those kindergarten students attending all day, they'll have more time and opportunity to explore the subject areas in depth. And when you look at the kindergarten curriculum, the amount of required skills that are within that curriculum, it looks much more like a 1st grade curriculum. So it's going to benefit our kids tremendously. We also looked at what the research told us, and the research tells us that students attending all-day kindergarten programs score significantly higher than those students that attend half-day programs. So there's many things to look forward for that, especially by going K-5, then we have an opportunity to keep those children for up to 6 years. So we get to build on to what the kindergarten teachers have done with those children academically, as well as continue to build the relationships with those children and their families, thus helping us create strong schools, which will help build a strong community.
And an added part of that will be looking at the 1st grade classrooms in all three buildings. We want to keep them as low as possible. So when you look at it in the big picture, we'll have kindergarten full-time. We'll have 1st graders with small class sizes. So our whole goal is to get those 2nd graders ready to read by that time and having some intense instruction on those young people in K and through 1st grade. Will there be any additional staff members?
Currently, we are reviewing the staff that we have, their credentials, to ensure that we have the right people with the right credentials teaching those students. So that process isn't over with. So we can't tell you what our needs are until that process is over, and that we're doing right now.
Mrs. Saxton, why is this transition taking place?
The district has been considering doing this for some time now, and we were fortunate enough to be recipients of OSFC funds, and that allowed the district to do some renovations and new construction at Elmwood and at Maple Leaf, and the goal of that was to transform those buildings into K-5 buildings. And with that being said, within the past 2 years, those renovations and new construction has finally come to an end, and we have beautiful state-of-the-art facilities, and we're ready to open up as a K-5 building.
What else is being done behind the scenes from your personal perspective to prepare for this transition for next year?
Well, we have a lot of things that we're looking at. First off, we looked at the room configurations to make sure that we could adequately support our K-5 student population in both buildings. With that being said, we have to look at the furniture as well. The types of materials that are going to be in the buildings, because we want to make sure that whether you're a student at William Foster or Elmwood or Maple Leaf, that you have the same access to materials and resources. One of the other areas we're making sure that we're looking at is technology. We need to make sure that every building has the same access to the state-of-the-art technology as well. So again, equal access at all of the buildings at this point.
And that's an important comment because of the fact that we want all three buildings to be exactly the same.
Correct.
Technology, capacity, looking at special ed and specific needs for each one of your buildings. And I think it's important for parents to understand that all three buildings will be very similar. We'll be still doing our pause, we'll be doing our daily fives, we'll be recognizing young people every single day, just like we do as you have done through this school year. And I think that's important for folks to know. How are decisions being made as to which students will go where?
The whole goal of turning these into K-5 buildings is we want them to be neighborhood schools. We want our parents and our families to have a tie to these buildings. We want them to be to buy into our buildings, to build those relationships, so that we hope that with building those relationships where kids can be part owners of that building as well and build that academic success. With that being said, we want to hopefully reinstill some after-school programming as well, which will be wonderful, wonderful. Again, it's to have our families tie in and build into our schools.
Ms. Abraham, will teachers be shifted as a result of this transition?
Yes, they will. Of course, as we said earlier, we're looking at teacher licensure right now to see where people are going to need to go and where they're going to be able to really fit in well with the different buildings. We're still in that process. Teachers will know where they're going to be before the end of the school year.
We also, I would assume, we want to put some of our strong people and kind of spread the wealth around to all three of the buildings. Again, trying to make all three buildings very similar.
Absolutely. With consistency, we know that we want to make sure that we've got high-quality teachers in every building and that we have people in place that can really teach to their strengths. And so that means taking a look at what do people do really well and where are we going to be able to place them so that they can flourish. Because if the teachers flourish, we know that the kids are really going to be in a great learning environment.
The third grade guarantee has a lot to do with this. Why don't you explain a little bit about the third grade guarantee and how that's important for each one of your buildings?
Sure. We know that the state now has a requirement with the third grade guarantee that all students be able to read by third grade. And when we say be able to read, there is a standard to be able to read well, to be able to comprehend, to have some very nice fluency for a third grade level reader. And so we know that we've got teachers that have very specialized credentials. Many of them have reading endorsements from grades kindergarten through 12. Some teachers have master's degrees in reading. And the state is requiring us to have people in place with those qualifications for students who are going to need extra support on their journey to third grade, and also if they don't pass the third grade OAA, that we have additional support for them as well in fourth and fifth grade.
In the big picture, is there any academic benefit to this transition?
Absolutely. This entire transition really does take into account what the needs are for our students. What we see as a benefit of going K through 5 is that we're going to have students that we are going to get to know very well. We'll have teachers in place that can teach to their strengths and that can collaborate and consult with other teachers so that we can really build programming and interventions to meet the needs of those children. We're going to be able to just wrap our arms around these kids, get to know them well, really make them part of that hometown small school feel, and be able to really serve them better. I think that we see the benefit because we only had the kids K-3 for 4 years, and then when they would go to Maple Leaf, they would only be there for 2 years. And it just seemed that once we were getting to know them, we had to give them up. So being able to keep them for the long haul is really for their benefit, and those academic considerations are paramount in this transition.
So if I'm a parent, how can I learn more about the K-5 transition?
I think that probably the best place to look at would be our school website, www.garfieldheightscityschools.com. I know that there's a page there dedicated to the transition. So I know it's constantly being upgraded, and we're having more information available I know that people are very good about putting new information up because I know that a lot of parents are going to have many questions because this is a huge change for the district. Also, if people would like to go to PTA meetings, I know you've been to Elmwood and you're visiting all of the different schools for those PTA meetings. So I definitely encourage parents to not only join the PTA and participate in the PTA because it's great for our kids, but that we will also be able to share information there as well. If parents have immediate questions and concerns, they can always call the schools or the board office. Because maybe parents are going to think of something that we haven't thought of yet, or they're going to have questions that need more immediate answers. So we will definitely need those open lines of communication.
Well, like you said, I've been to Elmwood, I've been to William Foster's PTA. After Easter break, I'll be coming to Maple Leafs PTA, so if there are any questions, those folks could come there and ask any questions that they need to ask. This transition is a large undertaking, and it is going to take a great deal of planning, courage, and patience from everyone involved. I want to thank members of our staff for being here today to share about this process and what parents can expect. The K-5 transition is a very positive thing for the district, and though we understand that at times change can be challenging, Garfield Heights is a tight-knit community and we will overcome these challenges. The positive aspects certainly outweigh the negative aspects. As superintendent, I ask for your help during this process. The schools will do everything in its power to make this transition successful. But ultimately, we do believe that this is in the best interest of our students. Until next time, I'm Superintendent Terry Olszewski, and as always, go Bulldogs!